Okay, so for this drawing detail, similar to the last one, at the bottom of the stairs, we're now looking at the top of the stairs. Again, the majority of this drawing, or this section here, is very much the same as the bottom. We have the structure of the step up along here with the treads and the risers and the wedges and the glue blocks and string and so on, balusters and handrail, newel post. We also need to put down here the landing, so the top of the stairs. Again, fairly straightforward, but it can be off-putting to look at. We've got a couple of joists in place here. We've got some strutting, so it's the wooden members supporting the joist. It's herringbone strutting in this place. We've got some wooden flooring on top and some plasterboard underneath, and that's all in position there. When it comes to these drawings, we'll just go back to the general sizes. So the rise of a standard step, that is the height of the step. It can be no bigger than 220 millimeters. The ideal rise is 175. The going is basically the width of the step. The minimum going is 220. The ideal going is 250. And the pitch, or the angle of the stairs, it can be no bigger than 42 degrees, but ideally 35. 99% of the time in a leaving cert question, it's fine to use the ideal in each of these. If you're to use something different, it will state it in the question itself, but for any of these drawings we'll stick to the standards, the 35 degrees, the 250 mil going, the 175 rise. A2 paper is what's needed here as always, and we will make sure that we have a nicely lined out page, title box and border all done properly. Equipment we're using, T-square, we've got a 2H pencil, H pencil, 60-36 square, 45 degree set square. Protractor is very important for this one, rubber, and our red, black, green, blue pens, and a topper if it's required also. Okay, so we'll make a start on that there now then. We're going to start nice and low and left on the page to make sure that we have enough room for everything. So I'm going to come down here to the bottom left of my page, and we're going to do 3 steps to the top. Usually in the leaving cert question the last 3 steps, so we'll just stick to that. First thing that we need to do obviously is set up our angle. So I'm going to start off down here nice and low to the left, so I've got plenty of space. I'm going to draw a line across the bottom like so. I'm going to pick a center point from my angle there, a center point there, and I'm going to draw an angle of 35 degrees with my protractor. And that there is going to give me the angle of my steps and a guide for my steps. As we said, the ideal height of a step is 175. When we scale that down, that works out at 35 millimeters. So over here in a random place, I'm going to just mark a height of 35 millimeters, and I'm going to draw a line across until I hit that 35 degree angle that we mentioned earlier, and that's going to give me the position and the height of my first step. So I now can draw in the first step again. All this work is done lightly to start things off. We said the going that we're going to use, or the length of this, is going to be 250. We divide that by 5, that works out at 50 millimeters. So I'm going to get my 50 millimeters, and from there, if I go up 35, if I'm accurate, it should work out on the page line. I want to extend on again. We're going to go across 50. I'm going to go up 35. 1, 2. We'll do another 3 steps. We need to include the landing on this also. So we have 50 millimeters here. Up our 35, which should land on the pitch line there, and I'm going to extend that. That's going to be where the landing is. For the moment though, we're going to forget about landing. We'll focus on just getting the structure of these steps into place. Now we're going to add a little bit of thickness to these lines then. We're going to actually draw the wooden members. So we said before, the thickness of these wooden members for the steps, the standard would be 18 millimeters. When we divide that by 5, it's 3.6. So 4 millimeters will be fine when we scale it down. I'm going to measure in 4, and I will draw my line here. And I'm going to measure up 4 and draw my line there. Again, doing it all lightly first. We're just marking out these positions, getting the thickness of each of the wooden members now. Stand that up, so we're going in 4 and up 4 for each of these. In 4 and up 4. There, and in 4 here. So I'm going to go up my 4 there as well. Okay, so that's going to show the thickness of the timber on the landing. Now, at this point, we've been good and close in here, and we're going to start actually the shoring positions of these housing joints. Again, tricky, finicky little bit of work, so we have to be neat and tidy with that as best we can. The best thing to do for me is to rub out that. Even when you rub it out, you can still see the majority of the lines, and I'm going to go up about halfway on that. Extend that down there, across here, that's the first one. Okay, and we will then go over to this corner here, do the same thing. So again, about halfway, you can measure it if you like, about 2 millimeters. Use your judgment though if you get used to doing it. That's that one there, essentially. Those out there. So we're now going to bring that down there. It's darkening as I go along as well. It starts to take shape a little bit more. Takes a bit of getting used to, but when you get used to doing this, it does get fairly straightforward for you. So again, about halfway there. Like so. Okay, I'm going to go up here. What about that section? So I'm just estimating these positions using my eye. Like so. And the last two on this corner. And this section here. Like so. Now, so at this point, we have all of those housing joints marked in. So tricky little bit of work, but it takes a bit getting used to. But once you get used to it, it's not too bad. So now all we need to do is add the nosing onto the front of those. So round off them. If you have a little hole template, you can use that, but it's okay as well if you can do a nice neat job in just freehanding a curve around each of those. Like so. Up there as well to get that nosing into place. So make sure you're conscious that you're neat and tidy with that nosing work. Okay, now again we're building up the structure of the steps. We're not even thinking about the landing or anything like that yet. The next thing we'll do is we're going to put the string, the position of the string. So again, just to remind us, the string is that wide piece of wood on the side of the stairs that runs all the way down parallel with the steps, and each of these steps, as we know, they are housed into there. So the string is 250 millimeters wide. The string obviously needs to cover the whole area of the steps, so what we'll do is we'll go out maybe 5 or so millimeters. Use your own judgment on that. Just a little bit clear of the nosing. And my sliding set squares technique, set that up parallel with my 35-degree line, slide it out and lightly draw a line all the way down there. That will be the top part of my string. The string, as we said, is 50 millimeters, so set my set square look up like so. There's 0, and I'm going to go down to 50, and I am going to extend or set up my sliding set square again, parallel with that. Slide it across to my 50 millimeter mark, and lightly draw your line there. Again, I'm drawing them a little bit heavier, just for the sake of the video. This is the top of the stairs, so that's obviously going to extend down much further. Now, next what we'll do is we'll just draw in a little more of the structure of those steps. So we're going to get our glue blocks and our wedges into place. We don't need to overthink their sizes too much. So what we like to do with the glue block is we're going to measure 5 millimeters from the corner and use a 45-degree angle to draw there. Same over here, 5 millimeters there, and 5 millimeters for this step also. 45-degree angle. Those glue blocks are there to add strength to the step, make sure it doesn't creak. So those symbols there just represent the end grain because they're wooden blocks. We're looking at the end of the wood. Now the wedges themselves as well. We're not going to put glue blocks and wedges up at the top because that's actually the landing, at the very top of it. There's going to be a joist in position there, which we'll do shortly. The wedges, again, use your own judgment on the angle. Put a slight angle on that, like so. Slight angle there. And that wedge goes in here. That wedge is going in there. There'll also be a wedge on that one, which we can just draw like so. We can just continue on like this. That wedge. That wedge. And they're two separate wedges. They're two separate pieces of wood. One's going in there. One's going up there. And there'll be a wedge coming finally like that. It'll just stop there, which will become more clear shortly. Okay, so our glue blocks and our wedges are now all in place. After that, what we want to do then is we're going to start looking at newer posts at the top of the stairs, the handrail and the baluster. So all those sizes are the same as the previous drawing. In this case, the newer post will just go a little bit down below. It's kind of a feature you'd often see in stairs, so we'll run that down a little bit lower. Position of the newer post, again, it's always a good place to go, just the center of the top or the bottom riser. So in this case, we're going to go to the center of this. 100 millimeters wide, 100 millimeters thick. That will work out with 20 millimeters when we scale it down. So I'm just going to go up to this top step here like so, and I'm going to go 10 millimeters to the right, 10 millimeters to the left, and I'm going to lightly draw the position of my newel post and start building up all of these positions from there. Extend that right up because I'm going to need that, and you can see that has been built into position. Now, how high up do we go with this? So, as we remember, this guide from the top of the handrail down to the pitch line must be between 840 and 900. So if we scale it down, if we draw maybe 175 millimeters of a height from there, the correct position of that pitch line needs to be in touch with all of these nosings. So I'm going to just draw that pitch line to place there, tip of the nosings, and from that I can measure a height of 175 to get the top of the handrail. There's my 175 there. I'm going to use the sliding set squares and I'm going to draw parallel to the string, slide that over, like so, and that's going to get me my handrail. So if anybody's a bit confused as to what I did there, I might just recap that. So this red line here is known as the pitch line. That's my 35-degree angle touching off the front of the nosing of each step. The height of your stairs, the regulation states that it must be between 840 and 900. So when I scale that down, I got a nice safe height of 175. So from here I measured up 175, and this line here is parallel to all of these lines here on the steps, 35 degrees. I just used the sliding set square technique, so I got my T-square set up like so, and I slid that across to draw the line up. From there then, I can draw some of the balusters. I'll draw the thickness of the handrail, I'm going to draw the top of the newel post, and we can start building onto the landing from there. So the size of the handrail, 75 millimeters by 50. So when we scale that 50 down, it's going to work out at 10. So what I'm going to do next then is I'm going to set 0 on like so. I'm going to mark 10 millimeters. Again, use my sliding set squares technique. Slide that back, and that will give me the thickness of the handrail, which we can see there. Just to get the top of the handrail, use my own judgment. I'll go a little bit above the handrail. I'll draw a line across. As we know, the design on the top of a newel post can vary. We'll keep it nice and simple. We'll just put a rectangular shape on top of that. Keep it nice and tidy. Keep it nice and symmetrical. And that will give us the top of the newel post, like so. For the balusters, there must be a maximum distance of 90 millimeters between each baluster, and the thickness of a standard baluster would be 40 millimeters. So that works out, when we scale it down, that works out at 18 millimeters. Draw my line. The thickness is 8. So we're going to draw 3 or 4 balusters. There's one. Then we're going to go 18. And 8. We're going to go 18. And 8. We'll get a 4th one in then. And 8. And that's generally the majority of the stairs done. I'm just going to darken in the newel post a little bit. We're about some of the lines that are now not needed. And extend this down further here. And the newel post at the top of the stairs can often just go a little bit further down. You might see that as a feature sometimes in the set of stairs. Okay, you can see it. So use your own judgment to bring it down a little bit further. Like so, and I'm going to leave a space here because I'm going to be drawing a joist in there in a moment. So at that point there, we have the structure of the stairs done, the majority of the drawing. Now all that we need to do is work on the landing. Looks a bit off, but quite straightforward really. Right, so as we said before, we've got some wooden flooring along the top, plasterboard underneath, a thicker joist at the start of the stairs, so a trimmer joist is quite thick and wide. I've got two smaller joists, standard size joists in position there, and we'll look at the herringbone strutting after that. This trimmer joist, this big joist which is supporting the stairs, is 200mm by 75. So when I scale that down, we can see there that it works out 15mm by 40. 200mm divided by 5 is 40. So underneath this, we're going to measure our 40. And as we said, it's 15mm thick. So a big thick joist there, and representing the end of a piece of wood. As we all know, we join the diagonals like so. That will help me then just to finish off darkening in these parts of the steps. Now, see there, the standard joist then, you can see from this is, it will work out at 200 by 50, so that will work out at 40 by 10. And the distance from one joist to the next is going to be 80mm apart each of those joists. So what I'm going to do here is the front face of that joist. I'll extend this line on first of all. Bring that over a little bit. And 400mm centers, that is from center of one joist to the center of the next joist, 400mm. When I scale that down, it's 80. So from the front of this joist to the front of the next joist will be 80mm. So what I'll do is from the front there, I'll mark 80, and then I'm going to go back 10, and that will give me a 400mm centers, as it's known, joist. So from center of this joist to the center of that joist is 400mm. That is, when scaled down, 80. I'll do one more of those. So from this face, I'm going to go 80, add on 10 there, and that will give me 400mm centers joists. And that's those in place there. Now I'll just extend that wooden flooring on along here. The plasterboard underneath is generally 12mm, so about 2mm thick for that. And we have that in place there. The last thing to do then is this herringbone strutting. Strutting will just be a block of wood placed into position. In this case, we're just doing herringbone strutting. 40mm thick. It can be a bit tricky to do, but we're not going to overthink this too much. So what I'll do is, the best way to draw this, I'm going to zoom in on this, so just going to focus on what we're doing here. The best way to draw this is to measure from this top corner, measure down 8, which is 40mm thickness divided by 5, which is 8. And I'm going to join that corner, that point, to the opposite corner. And then from this corner, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to measure up 8. And if I join that to that corner, that would have me that little piece there. Right? Same thing, I'm going to measure from here, I'm going to measure down 8. From over here, I'm going to measure up 8. That can go to that corner. It's in behind that piece of wood, and that can go to that corner. There. We'll do that one more time over here. So we'll measure down 8, join that to there, and we'll measure up 8 and join that to there, and from here we'll measure up 8 here measured down 8. And our herringbone strutting is down in place for that. At that point, the drawing is basically complete. The last thing that has to be done to get our last few marks is the labels. As always, we want to be neat and tidy with our label work and use the space provided. So down here I'm going to use this space to get the structure of the steps. This space and this space I'll use to label these parts, and I'll go up here to label maybe the top parts of the steps there. I'll just rub out this line to make it the space for me. And zoom in down here and we'll start labeling nice and tidy, neat writing with these parts here. So the glue block. I'm not going to worry too much about the size of the glue block. You can add in 50 by 50 if you like. 250 millimeter going or thread. Either is fine. The thread is the piece of wood, the going is a distance. Either is fine. 175 millimeter riser. We can do our wedges over here. So that and that will be our wedges, like so. And the string, 250 millimeter string. That's the majority of the structure done. I might just do the pitch line up here as well. And you can see that there. Now I'm going to go up to this space here now to get the balusters and so on. I'm going to just point out this height, what the regulation should be. So from the red pitch line to the top of the handrail must be between 840 and 900 millimeters. Okay, we have a 75 by 50 millimeter handrail. Okay, we have our standard size of 90 millimeters between these balusters. Okay, and over here I just label the size of one baluster, which is 40 by 40. By 40 millimeter baluster. We've got a 100 by 100 millimeter newel post. And that's the majority of the stairs. Just to get the main parts of the landing done properly. This is a trimmer joist, so the trimmer joist is kind of a joist that goes around an opening like a stairs or an attic. And it's a larger one, 200 by 75 millimeter trimmer joist. Like so. We just have some standard 80 millimeter flooring. We have a standard 200 by 50 mil joist. And we have underneath, we'll do the 12 mil plasterboard. And 40 millimeter herringbone strutting. Okay, and that is essentially that full set of stairs done. The top 3 steps, including all the structure, all the parts and a part of the landing in place also.